Going to be talking about box plots. First thing we need to know is the 5-number summary. Scribble these down, please. You guys know what a median is. It's the middle number after you line them up. Least to greatest, minimum, sometimes called the lower extreme, is the lowest number. Maximum is the largest number, or the upper extreme. Quartile 1, or the first quartile, Q1, is the median of the lower half. And then quartile 3, or the third quartile, or Q3, is the median of the upper half. So scribble those down, push pause. We use a 5-number summary to draw box and whisker plots. All smart math people, sometimes they want to just call them box plots. I don't know. If you've called them box and whisker plots, that's perfectly fine. Which are very common ways to display and compare a group of numbers. If I just had a one box and whisker plot, whoop-de-doo. No one's all that excited about that. What we're going to be working towards is putting 2 or 3 of these box and whisker plots on the same number line and being able to compare who's got the better grades, which class runs the fastest, all that kind of stuff, which team is best. And we'll have to back that up using the data from the box and whisker plots. So let's write a 5-number summary. We got to get to these box plots here in just a second. To find these 5-number summary, we're going to show you the more difficult way. Then we're going to show you the nice, easy Desmos way over there. So first things first, we got to get the numbers in order over here. So I got 12, and then I got 15, and then I got 16, and then 19, and then 20, and then 23, and then 24. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers up top. And just check and make sure, yep, I got 7 numbers when I wrote all mine out, making sure I didn't skip any of the numbers. So what's the lowest number up there? 12. What's the highest number up there? 24. I got to figure out the middle number. So I'm going to put, finger right here, and then I'm going to kind of work my way to the middle. Not those, not those, not those. It's that one right there. So my median is 19. How do I find Q1 and Q3? Well, I'm going to cover up the median, and I'm going to find the median of the lower half and then the median of the upper half. We'll just pretend I'm like Kermit or something here. So I'm going to cover up all these numbers with my hand. So I got my hand over those numbers, and I'm looking at the left side. What's the median of those 3 numbers over there? 15. And then, I don't know if I can delete just that. Can I delete just that? Probably not. Let's erase this. And then I'm going to cover up these numbers with my hand, and I'm going to look just at the numbers on the right side, 20, 23, and 24. What's the median over there? 23 is in the middle over there. So if I want to draw a box and whisker plot, those are my 5 numbers for my 5-number summary. I would put a line here at 12. I'd put a line at 15. It's between 14 and 16 right there. 19 is in between 18 and 20. 23 would be right there. And then 24 would be right there. Whiskers on the outside, and then box on the inside, just like that. Okay? Don't draw it on the number line down it. Don't have your box down here, because here in a little bit we're going to have multiple box and whisker plots stacked on top of each other, and if you have one down there, it's going to be kind of crazy. So draw it up here like that, kind of floating up there. Up here. All right, once again, we would put them all in order. You know what? I don't want to do this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to come over here to Desmos, and we're going to type capital A equals, and we're going to put some brackets right there. And inside those brackets, we're going to type all the numbers in my list. 50, comma, 47, comma, 48, 49, 47. I'm putting commas in between each of these. Notice it tells me there are 7 elements in my list. That means I had 7 numbers up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Nice and easy. So I have A equals all those numbers. The brackets are in there. The commas separate all of them. And there is a magic function. So I'm going to click on functions down here, and I'm going to look down here in the statistics area right here. And the magic one for this is stats. And if I find the stats of A, it gives me my minimum, my Q1, my median, Q3, and max. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that 47, 47, 49, 50, and 52. Now, something's jumping off the page at me. 47 and 47. We'll talk about that here in just a second, okay? Yeah. All right, so I've got my box and whisker plot. 47 would be right there, and technically I have two lines right there. 49 would be right there. 50 is right there, going to squeeze that in, and then 52 is right there. So normally the two outsides would be the whiskers. That one would be a whisker, and then there's not really a whisker on the left side because 47 would have been the low over there. So that's a kind of funny looking one right there. Next one. Man, I definitely don't want to have to write all these out in order, but look, my teacher is so nice. He went ahead and put them all in order. Let's be lazy. Let's just use Desmos, okay? So I'm going to have A equals brackets, and I'm going to type all these in: 39, 42, 47, 52, 56, 59, 64, 68, 68, and 75. It says I have 10 elements in my list, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 numbers over there on the right side. What's the magic function over here that gives me all my 5-number summary? Stats. Stats of A gives me all the important numbers. So my minimum is 39. Q1 is 47, 57 and a half. That's different, isn't it? Got a half right there. That's okay. So 39 would be like right there. 47 would be right in there. 57 and a half would be in there. 68 would be up here. And 75 would be on that line right there. The two outside are the whiskers, and those on the inside right there. There's your box and whisker plot. All right, box plots right here. Something important is the interquartile range. What I like to call the range of the quartiles right here. The high minus the low quartiles. We've talked about range. Range is the highest number minus the lowest number. Well, the range of the quartiles, or the interquartile range, would be the highest quartile minus the lowest quartile. Q3 minus Q1. It is the box in the middle. This is my minimum number right here. This is the maximum. This is Q1. And this is Q3. Sometimes people call this Q2. It's the median, though. It's in the middle. Okay. Something else to know right here, it says middle 50% of the data. What does that mean? That means that in between each of these is 25% of all the data. What does that mean? That means that if you had, let's just take 100. If you had 100 numbers that we had typed over here in Desmos, if we push that comma 100 times, or maybe 99 times, but you punch all in 100 numbers, that 25 of those numbers would be right in here. And then 25 of those numbers would be right there. 25% of that data is in each of those. Okay? There's not necessarily 25 numbers. If there was, less numbers, there would be less numbers in there, but 25% of that data is in there. And once again, this middle 50% of the data, this is the IQR right here. So the box is the interquartile range, and it is 50% of the data, something important to remember. It says, sure, you feel smart when you're able to draw a box and whisker plot, but the real reason we learn to draw them is so we can compare them. So, I might ask you a question. I might have A, B, C, D on here and say, which of the following, obviously we only have A, B right here. Which of the following, A or B, has the higher median? A does. There's the median right there. There's the median right there. Just imagine your number line down here, whatever each of these numbers is. A would have the higher median. Which of these box plots has a lower first quartile? A does. There's the first quartile there. There's a first quartile there. Which of these has a higher maximum? Well, B does. There's the maximum there, and there's the maximum there. Which of these has a smaller interquartile range? B does. It's a smaller box. The box is smaller than this one, therefore it has more data that is tightly packed in between those numbers right there. Next. All right, we have a number line up there with a box plot on it. Let's write some numbers down. I have a minimum of 50. Q1 would be, oh man, it's not on a number. What am I going up by? I'm a guess and check kind of guy. There's a formula for this. I don't want this to be something you think is very, very important to memorize a formula. I'm a guess and check guy on this. You know, it starts at 100 right there and then goes to 150. Like, let's try 10. 110, 120, 130, 140, 150. That worked. And if it doesn't work, then try 8, try 15, try 20. It's not going to be anything crazy. Might be 4 one time or 3, but just guess and check until you get it. So Q1 would be right here at what, 110? Median would be at 150. Q3 would be at 170, and the maximum would be almost at 200, but it's at 190. The IQR is Q3 minus Q1. That would be 170 minus 110. That is 60. What percentage of data values are greater than 150? Well, 150 is right there, and we want greater than the 150. You know, this would be 25, this would be 25%, that's 25%, and that's 25%. So that would be 50% of the data is greater than 150. What percentage of the data values are less than 110? Well, 110 is right here. Which ones are less than that? That would be 25%. Next one. Minimum. All right, we got to figure out. Looks like we're just going up by 5s this time. So 10, 15, 20, 25. Minimum would be at 15. Q1 would be at 50. Median would be at 60. Q3 70. And maximum is at 80. The IQR is Q3 minus Q1. 70 minus 50 is 20. Is your interquartile range. Percentage of data between 50 and 70. Remember, there's 25% right there. There's 25% right there. 25%. Sorry, my handwriting's awful. 25% in each of those. Those don't look like 2s, but they are. I promise. That didn't help at all. Between 50 and 70. Right there and right there. That looks like 50%. And percentage of data between that is greater than 50. Greater than 50. There's 50 right there. So greater would be 75. All right. Minimum. All right. What are we going up by? Looks like 1, right? 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So this one is at, the minimum is at 28. Q1 is at 30. The median is 36. Q3 is 46. And maximum is 48. The IQR is Q3 minus Q1. 46 minus 30 is 16. What percentage of the data values are greater than 46? 46 would be right there. So you want that way. That's 25% of the data. Are greater than 48? 48's right there. How much is greater than 48? None of them. 0%. There are no numbers over there. Last one right here, the minimum value. All right, what are we going up by? Is it 5s? 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Yeah, we're going up by 5s. So the minimum is 15. Q1 would be 25. The median is 45. Q3 is 70. And the maximum is 80. IQR, once again, is Q3 minus Q1. That would be 70 minus 25, which is 45. And what percentage of data values are greater than 25? So 25 is right there. That would be 75. Are less than 45. There's 45. We want that way. That would be 50% of the data.